What is up everyone, welcome back for another video. This week we are talking about 3 tips to help you move around on a wave and move to the top of the wave. This is really important if you're interested in freestyle kayaking because it helps you to get to the top of the wave, which is where you need to start basically all of your tricks from. You need to start at the top of the wave because that's where you have the most room to come down the wave. You also have the most speed. When you're at the top of the wave, like coming down, you've got that potential energy at the top there. And that's the place you're going to be starting all your tricks from basically. You need to have mastered this skill before you're going to master any of the freestyle tricks down the line. And if you want to progress and improve and keep improving, you need to have this fundamental skill really dialed in. So 3 things that we're going to talk about today that are going to help you a lot with that. Tip number 1, look where you want to go. So as you move around the wave, and I know I've said this in a number of other contexts before and you're going to be sick of hearing it, but you need to look where you want to go. If you're looking downstream, if you're looking off the wave, you are not going to be successful. You're going to end up off of the wave or wherever you're looking. So if I want to move to the left side of the wave, I need to be looking a mixture of upstream because that's what keeps me surfing on the wave, and left because that's where I want to end up going. Now, without doing anything, that's going to immediately improve your kayaking, right? You haven't done anything with your edges yet, you haven't done anything with your paddle yet, but that one thing is going to make a huge difference. So look where you want to go, upstream to stay on the wave, around to move yourself around the wave, whichever direction you're going. If you look off the wave, you're going to go off the wave. Tip number 2, use your rudder and edges in combination to aggressively move yourself around. Now, I've talked about this in a previous video on not losing speed and in a couple of other scenarios about not using your paddle negatively to slow yourself down. When you're surfing, you're going to use your paddle more like a rudder to carve around, and using those edges with your rudder in combination, you can help move your boat to the left and move it to the right. It's really important that your mind is one step ahead of what your edges and what your boat, your paddle is doing, because you need to be thinking ahead. Okay, if I drop my left edge now and I do a little rudder on my right side, what's going to happen to me? You need to have already decided that and be thinking about the move ahead. So as you are ruddering over to the left, you're already thinking about switching edges, switching rudder directions and changing your boat angle so you can come back to the right so that you don't just carve off the wave. So use your boat and rudder effectively together. Think about them as one unit, like your edges is half the amount of things you have to think about and your rudder is the other half of the things you're going to think about. And by doing those things together, you can help kind of boss your boat around a lot. And as long as you're looking where you're going, now you should be starting to get into that position where you're moving more where you want to go, not where your boat wants to go. Tip number 3, you're going to need to use tip number 1 and tip number 2 in combination, along with being at the right part of the wave to move yourself from the bottom to the top. Now, the process of moving from the bottom to the top is essentially carving all the way out, like almost off the wave, and then quickly and aggressively cutting back into the top. And hopefully in the example I'm showing right now, that's kind of obvious, and you can see that I'm carving out and kind of dragging, like dropping that downstream edge a little bit to help carve up and then aggressively cut back in. The cut back in is going to be happening really, really fast, and the more aggressively you can come all the way out, all the way back in, the easier it is to be at the very tip top of the wave. And even on quite small waves, it's the same exact process. But every wave, like kind of a snowflake, they're all a little bit different. They're all going to have parts of the wave that it's going to be really easy to do this, and parts of the wave where it's going to be either hard or impossible or not as good, or is going to guarantee that you carve off the wave. So you need to look carefully and identify that steep, like the most angled part of the wave, and ideally it's going to dump you right back into a spot which is kind of good to go, right? Like if you end up going to the top of the wave but then you're like on the wrong side of the steep spot, you're actually not really at the top of the wave. So just try and think about that, like looking ahead and thinking about where you're going to be, and pre-planning. I know it seems like, oh yeah, those guys who are really good at freestyle kayaking aren't pre-planning and they're just going in there and doing some stuff, and that's not really true at all. Almost all of them have a really good idea of the mechanics of the feature. They know exactly where the good spots and the bad spots are, and they know how to use those to their advantage. So now we need to think about using those to our advantage so that we can progress and get better and learn and improve and grow. So those are the 3 things. Look where you want to go, use your edges and your paddle in unison, and then carve out and carve back in aggressively at the good part of the wave. And really think about where the good part of the wave to do that is, and obviously it's going to be different for every wave, so look for similarities, look for patterns. The more different waves you do this on, the easier it is to start identifying, okay, that's the spot I want to be at, that's where I want to carve out and cut back in. And the better you get at your edge control and your rudder control, the harder you can carve out, the harder you can carve back in, the easier it is to come to the top. And once you're at the top and you're falling down with speed, now we can start doing some tricks, and then things get really exciting. All right, that's it for this week. I will see you in a future video. Peace.